Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. Imagine my surprise when everything seemed to line up and fall into place neatly and tidily this past week. Just as the first major phase of my relocation project completed, launch season kicked off with a couple long-awaited mid-tier graphics cards going up for sale and review from AMD. The Radeon RX 7800 XT and the Radeon RX 7700 XT. And while I have often taken a hyperbolically critical and bitter stance towards GPU launches in recent years, I was pleased and mildly delighted to learn that these cards managed to clear the incredibly low bar of not sucking, or otherwise insulting the customer base's intelligence with pricing shenanigans or the like. That applies to the 7800 XT at least, even though it should have just been called the RX 7800. And the 7700 XT should be $400 and not $450. I did not have a chance to test these due to my workspace being in turmoil, which is why I am showing them off here, which counts, right, AMD? Of course it does. Other things that didn't suck this week include Starfield, the potential for next-gen Threadripper, and Intel's package. Nice. Oh, and speaking of the first major phase of my relocation project, what's the next major phase? That would be unpacking. But first, tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Micro Center. This is one of my favorite places to buy PC parts. So if you're building or upgrading your PC, I highly recommend making your way down to one of their 25 retail stores in the US. They have consistently competitive prices and an excellent selection of PC hardware and other tech goodies. And they have a custom PC builder on the Micro Center website. Use it to spec out your rig and it will show you parts in store at your nearest location while ensuring compatibility. Then you can pick up in store or have their pros assemble it for you. So click the sponsor link in the description to find a Micro Center near you. The AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT and RX 7700 XT launched Wednesday morning amidst a flurry of reviews that went live at the same time as the sales did. And perhaps it is a symptom of these challenging times for PC hardware enthusiasts, but a solid B grade on average, like about an 84 or so out of 100 for the 7800 XT at least, which is what PC Gamer gave it, seems like a big win for AMD. So AMD deserves about B-level congratulations, I'd say, since they did make NVIDIA's competing $500 GPU, the 4060 Ti 16GB, look silly by comparison. But note that the 4060 Ti is the very embodiment of insulting your customer base's intelligence, as referenced in the intro, and its price has already dropped to $450 or less. And while the 7800 XT only shows a modest improvement over the last gen 6800 XT, it is a $500 GPU versus the $650 MSRP for the 6800 XT back in late 2020. So for $500, the 7800 XT is the clear best GPU on offer at the moment for 1080p gaming or 1440 gaming for that matter. The 7700 XT, however, is tough to recommend for just $50 less, almost as if that card exists to make the 7800 XT look better and drive sales towards the slightly more expensive option. But that would suggest that GPU manufacturers are playing a devious and manipulative game to subtly increase the perceived values of the products they design, which would be silly, of course. In unrelated news, the 7800 XT appears to be flying off store shelves, in Germany at least, where, according to the numbers from Mind Factory, it is far favored in terms of units sold versus the 7700 XT, with about 400 of them sold on the first day. That's only surpassed by the first day sales of the 4070 Ti so far this year, although again, this doesn't represent global sales, so grain of salt and all. So now all we need is a bit more time to see if the 7800 XT can win over gamers with features like FSR 3.0 and that Hyper RX button that turns all AMD's features like boost, anti-lag, and super resolution on at the driver level. Then maybe AMD can achieve their true goal, making a bunch of money with AI. I mean, cutting into NVIDIA's market share, yeah, that second one. Also managing to not suck this week, Starfield, which continues to see mostly positive reviews and feedback, helped along by the paid early access window expiring on Wednesday, as well as tons and tons of mods being posted to nexusmods.com. About 100 per day since the game actually went live. Although not all of them are as useful as, say, the Starfield upscaler that lets you use DLSS or XESS instead of FSR2. The biggest complaint about Starfield, on the PC side of things at least, is that it is quite Crysis-like in its refusal to put out high frame rates, particularly at higher resolutions, even with GPUs that cost north of $1,000 like the RTX 4080 or 4090. When Bethesda's Todd Howard and Xbox head Phil Spencer were asked about the lack of PC optimization in an interview with Bloomberg Technology, the answer was apparently that it is optimized. Your PC just sucks and you should buy a new one.
Why did you not optimize this game for PC?
We did. It's running great. It is a next-gen PC game. We really do push the technology, so you may need to upgrade your PC for this game.
A blunt response, to be sure, but is this indicative of a harsh and uncaring developer who is out of touch with the everyday gamer, or is it the result of stagnation in the GPU market, particularly the lack of improved performance per dollar that has been offered with recent launches by both NVIDIA and AMD? Whatever the cause, per Hardware Unboxed, it will take a 7900 XTX or RTX 4090, with the 7900 XTX being the better performer between the two, interestingly, to get well beyond 100 FPS at 1080p using high settings. Whereas at 1440, you'll be in the 90 FPS range, and at 4K, you'll be lucky to get stable VSync performance at 60 Hz. They did test in one of the most GPU-intensive areas of the game, to be fair, and you can, of course, drop to medium quality settings or lower for more frames, but I doubt many RTX 4090 owners would proudly admit to running 1440p medium settings and barely topping 100 FPS. Well, at least you can run the game, Intel Arc GPU owners might have complained, as they were without a functional driver for most of last week, but thankfully on Friday, Intel posted a second driver update to improve Starfield compatibility with Arc GPUs, although they say there's still more work to be done. But don't cheer too loud, Arc owners, because according to Bethesda customer support, even the current flagship Arc A770 does not meet Starfield's minimum requirements. Guess you'll have to wait for Battlemage. But you won't have to wait much longer for the rest of the tech news, as it will be delivered post-haste via tech briefs, of course. High-end desktop enthusiasts have been left in the cold for some time without viable current-gen options from AMD or Intel, but there's some hope on the horizon. Threadripper 7000 and a platform codenamed Storm Peak might be coming soon, as revealed by ASRock's recent filing with the Eurasian Economic Commission. Right there in the middle is the TRX50WS, presumably workstation motherboard, also presumably the successor to TRX40, although it won't be backwards compatible as a new socket and DDR5 memory support will be required. Videocards.com has compiled all the Storm Peak rumors. The coming CPUs could include up to 96-core, 350-watt TDP processors with scads of PCIe Gen 5 lanes, with the main downside right now being that they're all still Pro series Threadrippers, which typically adds a $2 to $3 grand premium onto the sale price. Intel also has high core count CPUs in the works, and while these are primarily destined for enterprise use, they proudly revealed some sexy stills of their Granite Rapids chips, undressed and stripped down so you can just see their entire package. This thick and girthy part in the middle, that's these three tiles here, are performance core chiplets that also house cache and DDR5 interfaces, and the sensitive narrow parts at the ends here and here are the high-speed I/O tiles. If you don't care about server hardware, don't worry. Intel's fancy packaging techniques will likely benefit the consumer market too soon. For example, they showed off a Meteor Lake CPU with on-package LPDDR5X on Wednesday, and there is an actual picture of it there. But even more Xeon leaks were revealed by hardware leaker at Yuki_ans, who posted a spec sheet of the current list of engineering samples. If true, Granite Rapids CPUs will feature up to 56 cores and 112 threads, 12-channel DDR5, and 136 PCIe 5.0 lanes. Quite arousing. And with pictures like these to ogle, parts of me are rapidly turning to Granite too. Speaking of mysterious new hardware, Valve received certification from the National Radio Research Agency on Thursday for a new device with the model name 1030, which was somehow spotted by Twitter user Brad Lynch. Speculation as to what the device might be has already run rampant, but it's likely not a Steam Deck 2, as it's a bit too early for that. Some think it could be a wireless controller, although Valve seems to have given up on those since the Steam controller was discontinued. RIP. But the most likely thing is a VR headset with some level of wireless capability, since it was a wireless certification that tipped this off in the first place. A successor to the 3-year-old Valve Index could be an interesting development, especially if they could deliver a full VR experience without the wires. Among the hardware vulnerabilities revealed this year was one from July that affects all AMD Zen 2 based CPUs, titled Zenbleed, which sounds a bit melodramatic if you ask me. It's another speculative execution exploit that can steal basically any data that passes through a chip's registers, which is bad. But the good news is that it was discovered by a Google researcher, not a malicious hacking group, and a fix is already out for affected EPYC server CPUs at least, although desktop Ryzen CPUs, which include the 3000, 4000, and 5000 series, will need to wait until November or December for their fix. Tom's Hardware's testing of the update was implemented via software in order to run on desktop CPUs, but it shows that while some apps like C-Ray suffer as much as a 15% performance loss after applying the fix, gaming, thankfully, is pretty much not affected, so we're good, nothing to worry about. Of course, if you are concerned about your PC and hackers and stuff, it always provides some peace of mind to back up your personal data, and you might have tons of space to do that soon if Cerabyte, a data storage company based in Munich, Germany, has their way. Cerabyte will be presenting at the Storage Developer Conference next week on the 18th, but an early excerpt from the presentation reveals their nefarious plans. By 2025, they expect to launch 10 petabyte storage racks. That's 10,000 terabytes per rack that inscribe bits of data onto ceramic layers 50 atoms thick, with frickin' lasers, of course, that can achieve read and write speeds in the gigabyte per second range. Of course, even at that speed, it would take more than 110 days to fill a single 10 petabyte rack, but anyone who has done a full format on a 10 gig mechanical hard drive is familiar with that trade-off. Initial uses for the tech include cold storage and lifetime or unlimited cloud storage, and it's even a low-cost option with an estimated starting price of $40,000. But 40 grand is cheap when it buys you 10 petabytes worth of porn. I mean, data, important data. One last thing, since many have asked, there is I'm gonna say 90% chance that I will finally kick off my remodel video series this week, and I think you guys will really enjoy seeing all the work that was done. Now that I'm back home and I've had a week to settle in, it's time to start building some momentum anyway, so I'd like to share those ASAP. But there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can also check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise, t-shirts like this one, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.